Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday Club, and we are here live with Suhail Seth, uh, kind-hearted Suhail Seth, who stepped in for me yesterday and did a really good job from what I've been told by him. So, although the comments say something entirely different, but nonetheless, I appreciate him working so hard for the club. And thank you, Suhail.
Thank you.
So yeah, let's get started. Today we're a smaller Sunday club, and I think that might work really well for us. Sohail, I want to know from you a couple of things that have happened this week. I want to start with what's happened in London. Sadiq Khan has won his third term with a decent margin. However, turnout has not been great. What are your comments on this shift? A lot of people from England are saying the entire demography and even the culture is shifting in their country, especially in London.
Absolutely. I think Sadiq Khan has been uh, very racist. He's been very communal in some of his actions. He is not at all liked by a large section of the population, but because of voting blocks being as they are, he's managed. And, he had a Susan Hall and Tarun Gulati. Tarun Gulati was a non starter from the word go, but that's what's happened. And he will be the longest serving mayor in the history of London, which in itself is a travesty. He has managed to upset everyone. He has upset MPs, he has upset the London cab drivers, he has sucked up to Uber, he has destroyed London's traffic situation. Law and order is at an all time low. People's watches, people's phones are being stolen. Uh, you know, Theresa, the prime minister at that point in time, destroyed London's law and order by removing almost 13,000 policemen off the streets. So today, London is a shit show, in a manner of speaking. And it's only getting worse. I have never in my entire life seen London actually practice religious fervor on the streets, as it were, as it has been doing under Sadiq Khan. You have, Friday prayers occupying streets. He celebrates all these festivals, but truth be told, you know where his feelings lie. So I don't think London is the same London it was, and Sadiq Khan is only going to ruin it further.
Yeah. And the other thing, we saw those terrible protests, violent also, outside the Indian High Commission. And of course, we made a noise about it without much of a reaction, one has to say,
He's clearly
from
anti
them.
India.
Uh,
There's no question. I mean, let's
yeah,
not
but
labor the
and,
point. He's an
yeah.
anti India mayor. He is completely beholden to the Pakistanis, the Islamic lobby, as it were, which, by the way, you can be provided you don't wear it on your sleeve and justify it in your stupid actions. That's the problem. The problem is you're
Yeah.
destroying a city which has always believed in law and order and equality, which has not allowed religion to permeate publicly in the manner it has. So that's, to my mind, the real issue.
Yeah, because you're seeing the when they were kind of cavalier about what happened outside the Indian High Commission. Now you're seeing the same thing happening outside different establishments. Most recently it was at the Barclays Bank, wherein the Hamas pro Hamas supporters were not letting the bankers work. They were creating issues. They were abusing people. It's gotten to a point where Jewish people in London are feeling very, very unsafe, and this doesn't seem to bother the average London voter.
So the problem is very similar to the problem of the elite in India. They love to comment without casting their vote. And it's the same problem in London. So the so-called elite, you see, so there are two or three issues happening in London today. Central London, other than Greater London, has very few English people living there. It's mainly people who are immigrants and now naturalized or whatever. So they don't have a stake in the system. London has by and large become unaffordable for the whites. So they've moved out. They really couldn't care, which is why Brexit went the way it did. Cameron and Osborne believed at that point in time that Londoners wanted to stay within the European Union. But people outside London believed that people from Europe, other than England, were taking over their jobs. And that's why the referendum on June 25 of that year happened in the way it did. So, what Sadiq Khan is doing is he's stoking communal pockets and he's stoking those blocks. And those are the en blocs that vote in a particular manner, whether it's Muslims, non Muslims. I don't want to get into that. The issue simply is the soul of London has been destroyed. There is no law and order, and there is absolute anarchy, which no one had imagined. The fact that Sadiq Khan is back is more a statement on the Londoner of today than on him. Even Boris Johnson did a great job. And after that, it's been a shit show all through. You had problems. You had, I mean, look at the situation. Today, you have bike lanes which are eating into basic traffic. I'll give you a small example. In central London, in most places, you cannot drive your car above 10 miles an hour, which means you have crawling traffic, which means all the stuff that they keep talking about sustainability and savings and, fossil fuels, you're burning more because, plus, this whole hypocritical move of allowing hybrid cars to avoid congestion tax is in itself silly. So all I would say is that it is getting from bad to worse. Sadiq is not interested. He has the power to appoint policemen. I'm sure he's interfering in the law and order situation as much as he can, but that's how it is.
Yeah, yeah. And this is, it's not only London, even Leeds has seen sort of a somebody voted to power who was who has shocked them. So it's spreading, and a lot of the commentary that one hears on English channel, or English, by that I mean United Kingdom, is about how being English is changing, and they don't feel that they're in sync with their culture quite
So,
as much as they used.
someone here has asked why we're discussing a municipality election of a foreign country. And I'll tell you why we're discussing it. London is symptomatic of a new wave of national identity based on religious polarization that is consuming the world. If it was just a mayoral election, which had an impact only on law and order, we could have discussed it, or on traffic, or on, smart cities and all that kind of rubbish. This is having an impact on what England is and what it will become.
Yeah.
England cannot afford to be polarized in the manner it is because it will breed, thanks to its so called liberal outlook, it will breed terrorism, it will breed communal riots. As we have seen, it will breed a conflict amongst communities, none of which happened earlier. And it's happening because the law and order enforcement agencies also realize that they are mere pawns and they're also playing along. So there is effectively no one in charge in terms of how to clean up London. And if you don't clean up London, the message that you send out to the world is that England is on its way to becoming a ghetto, which is exactly what's happening. You try and go to Tooting or try and go to Birmingham, try and go to Manchester, and you will see ghettos and pockets and boroughs. So you're not talking about an egalitarian, cosmopolitan, cohabiting society. You're talking about a highly polarized, highly communal, highly blocked social fabric and social structure, which is why there's a problem. And that problem needs to be addressed. But how will you address it? Because in democracy, your only crutch is an election. And if he wins elections, I mean, what more can you say? I mean, look at what happened with ISIS and their drafting of this lady, the British lady who then wanted to come back. So
Yeah, Shamima Begum.
there is
Shamima
a
Begum.
genuine problem, but these people are in denial.
Vedika is asking, do you think London has a way back? Do you think a decisive and authoritative leader that respects the English way of life can change London around? Good
So, firstly, there
question.
is no English way of life. There is a way of life in England. Because an English way of life would seem to suggest that I have to live like Bertie Wooster or Jeeves. So, that in itself is erroneous. I must be able to live a life of equality, dignity, and firmness in whichever country I'm domiciled in. England used to be that country. England is no longer that country because England has used its prowess of so called liberal ideas and liberal values to say, oh, everything is allowed, everyone is welcome. No, everyone is welcome within borders of dignity and borders of decorum. You cannot have a situation where people can do what they like, which is why I tend to agree with what Prime Minister Modi and Amit Shah have done in India, what they plan to do. You cannot communalize, polarize an entire society because you have people from outside coming with severe agendas of their own. As simple as that.
Yeah, and the lack of assimilation is also something that is coming home to roost. When we speak in India of no go zones and things of that nature, it is read as being communal. But this is happening in England as well, where there is a certain kind of lack of assimilation, which is creating these issues for them. Not everyone, but there is a trend towards that.
So let me say something which is never said because of wokeism. And Islam has been more responsible for this than any other religion. I say this with great responsibility. Islam almost believes that its only way of recognition, of establishment, and its place in history will be a very frontal display of brute power through the funnel of religion. Mark my words, brute power through the funnel of religion. And they believe that these societies have enough woke people, the so called liberals, who will allow this blatant display of religious power and stemming from that religious power, bouts of religious violence. That's the problem. Now, if you analyze what's happened in Gaza, it is terrible. 77,000 people have been killed, of which 80% are women and children. And yet the world continues to support Netanyahu. This gives a fillip to those ultra radical Islamists who say that, look, our religion is in danger, so let's at least occupy London. Let's occupy Lal Killa. Let's occupy this. Let's occupy that. And no one is willing to take these people head on because no one wants to lose the popularity vote. And the problem, therefore, Advaita, is when you want to be popular, you will sacrifice logic. And this is what's
Yeah.
happening. Here in the United States, it's happening on college campuses. People are being beaten up. So, what has happened is religion allows you even to change the modicum of protestation. Protestations used to be civilized. The Japanese taught us the black armband strategy. Today, it borders on the violent because we have allowed religion to become the instrument of aggression and the instrument of accession. And in such a situation, it is a problem.
Oh yes, we should have brought in our British Bihari today for this conversation. He would have something to say about what's happening in London. That's true. That's true. He lives in the US, so I didn't want to bother him today. And well, Abhijit is not on the show, but he's trolling us, Suhail.
Now, he's
So
on the
that's good.
show, but he's absent from the visuals because otherwise he
He's
wouldn't
absent.
comment.
No, he's commenting. He's there on the chat. He's watching it on YouTube,
That's what I'm
but
saying.
he's
So he
not.
is on the
Yeah.
show without being visually on the show. That's what I meant.
Now,
And he
see the
had a
other
he had
thing
a
is,
heavy lunch.
How do you know?
he had a heavy
You track everyone's food
because he
habits in addition to your own?
No, because we both were invited for the same lunch. I couldn't make it, but he was there. And he was dancing and he was obnoxious. I'm told everyone ran away. They said we can't eat if he's going to dance like this. So that's why.
uh, I need to WhatsApp him and tell him Pallavi's bad mouthing him live on YouTube, so he needs to
Okay,
come.
can we get
But
back to
Sahil,
a
I want to
serious
ask you a very
discussion? We
quick
were having a
question.
nice serious discussion until Pallavi jumped in.
Yeah, Pallavi, now keep quiet. Okay, Sohail, I want to ask you this question before we move on. The BJP gets a lot of heat, especially the Home Minister when he talks about Ghuspetiye or the kind of illegal encroachment and illegal immigrants coming into the country. But the UK and the Western media is not far behind in kind of condemning that. But in the UK itself, they have this scheme where they've opened like a house in Rwanda, like a living facility, and they are sending back immigrants and relocating them in Rwanda's to get them off and out of their country, their island.
The problem is of comprehension and communication. When the Home Minister says Ghuspeti, there are enough people in India to contort and to change their narrative into the narrative they want, that, oh, BJP is being communal. Let me rewind a bit and take you into Indian history post independence. After the partition, and when the Islamic Republic of Pakistan was formed, there were a lot of Indian Muslims at that time who went to Pakistan. And their properties were given to those Hindus who had migrated from Pakistan to India. When the Muslims who were disillusioned in Pakistan wanted to come back in 48, 49, they were told that you have to seek provisional provincial permission. It was not being communal because at that time you had people like Jawaharlal Nehru who were always seen as non communal and Sardar Patel. The reason was that those homes of those Muslims who had left and went to Pakistan were now being occupied by those Hindus who were migrating from Pakistan to India. So you need
Yeah,
that provincial permission. And you need the provincial permission also because you wanted a situation where there was communal harmony after the riots and what we went through. Today, when the Home Minister says Ghuspetia, let me tell you, because I was born and raised in Bengal, the porosity of the eastern border is unbelievable. It is
yeah,
unreal. There have been people coming into Assam, there have been people coming to Bengal, and it has been allowed because, again, the politics of appeasement overruled the politics of logic. When you do that, and when you continue to do that, what you then create, to my mind, Advaita, is polarization without you wanting to say it. Now, if you are a citizen in, let's say, in Tezpur, in Assam, and you're suddenly confronted by ghettoization, which is not of your making, which is not legal, which is totally illegal, and yet condoned by the state administration, what choices do you have? I think what the Home Minister and therefore and the Prime Minister are saying is very simple. We need Indians to be in India. Those people who are in India must be recognized as Indians by the state. They cannot be recognized by one person, by a Mamta Banerjee or by a person X or person Y. It must have federal recognition because that's what citizenship is all about. But
yeah,
this is something that even the Congress wanted. The narrative has been changed to paint BJP in communal light because what the BJP is saying, the Congress always said without saying it. So if you go back into manifesto history, the CAA, the NRC were not of BJP's making. So the point I'm making is very simple. No, there he's wrong. It was not given only to the Waqf board. So anyway, I don't want these silly comments distracting me. Point basically I'm making is we are today in a country that cannot afford any kind of violence which is communal in nature. And there are enough people stoking the fires, as it were. In order to prevent that, certain actions have to be taken by the government. You and I can't take it.
yeah,
If
yeah,
those actions have to be taken by the government, we as Indians have to support the government, no matter which religious dispensation we belong to. Because ultimately, it is our country, going to be inherited by our children. So that is the issue. And in my mind, it's a clinical issue. It's not about Hindus, it's not about Muslims, it's not about Christians. It's not majority versus minority. It's very simply Indian versus non Indian. It's legal citizenship versus illegal citizenship. It's citizens versus aliens. Simple.
yeah, yeah. And and one has to question that multiple countries around the world are experiencing this sort of influx, and they have a right to respond to it. I don't see how anyone can kind of stand in judgment of how
As I said,
individual countries.
Advaita, in
Yeah,
India, sadly, we are not living from policy to policy. We are living from election to election. So, what matters is not political sagacity or governance and wisdom. What matters is immediate appeasement and an immediate result. I'm actually
yeah,
glad that Amit Shah has done and said what he has. It takes a lot of courage to say
Yes.
something that is staring you in the face, that is seemingly unpopular, but is good for the country.
Yeah.
When you plant seeds, you don't expect fruit immediately, but you plant seeds with a view of having a positive outlook, and that's what it should be seen as.
Yeah, it absolutely. It's not about personal popularity when he makes that statement, and I think that is a significant point you've raised. And now we'll move on from this topic. Pallavi, Radhika Khera, who has been quite a vociferous member of the Congress Party on social media as well as on television, has resigned after 22 years in the party. She's tweeted about it. She's given interviews to the media. According to her, this is her version. Uh, Her visit to Ramlala, to Ayodhya, on the end of April of beginning of May, around that time, is something that didn't go down very well with with the party, which is the Congress, and she faced harassment because of that. At one point, she was even locked inside a room at the Chhattisgarh Congress office and was screaming and yelling and trying to get out, or something of that dramatic. And subsequently, she has resigned because she felt like no one was listening to her issues. This, of course, is very similar to things that have been reported by Priyanka Chaturvedi, by her name fails me, but the young lady in Assam. This is kind of
Yeah.
routine with the Radhika Khera is again a high profile woman, female member of the Congress, and if she's had this experience and she has the platforms to share, what about the others? And what is the story about with Radhika Khera? What are you hearing from Congress people?
So see, I mean, her going to Ayodhya and the Congress not being happy with it is a later development. But this thing I know is happening for a very very long time because I had been speaking to Radhika Kheda for at least over a month or two, and she had been very unhappy because she's been in charge of Chhattisgarh media management when the elections were taking place in the state, and even now as far as the Lok Sabha goes, because she goes in and out of Raipur and so much and so forth. So what really happened is, if you look at the local media, they had actually released a video. It went viral. It was actually a clip which went viral. And in that clip, it showed that she's actually screaming and crying. And someone must have taped it and released it. So basically, she says that there is this guy who was in Chhattisgarh Congress who misbehaved with her inside the Congress office. She's been complaining about it and no action has been taken. And since they were not taking any action, she used to stop going for the press conferences in Raipur. But this guy used to keep on attending all the press conferences. So no one from the party even bothered to even question him, leave alone take action. And her point is, and which I also agree with, that okay, maybe you want to give the benefit of doubt to that guy, but the least you can do is for a party which claims that we care for women empowerment, like a Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, the least they can do is at least hear her out, get her version. See, I won't be too surprised if she decides to join the BJP or any other political party, and then the knives will be out. They'll say yes, a bahana tha and all of that. But the point is, even a Priyanka Chaturvedi today defends the Congress, but Priyanka Chaturvedi had also complained about the fact that she's not taking calls. So these are problem areas which are there in the Congress. And on the threshold of Lok Sabha elections, where women votes are something everyone is talking about, including the Congress, and the Congress is attacking on the Brij Bhushan issue, Manipur issue. This Radhika Khera incident is not going down well.
Yeah, and I think this she may join a party, she may not join a party, she may like want to be cool for some time. It seems Pavan Khera did write and inquire about what happened, but nothing moved from there onwards. Pallavi.
She's on mute.
She's on mute, and I also think that she's in an area where the signal is off. But anyway, moving on from this. This is Pallavi. Are you back? No,
No,
she's not
she's
back.
now frozen in time. She's like an icicle.
Okay, people are suggesting that Radhika Khera is probably going to join the BJP. It's quite possible. Pallavi, you're back now. If you want to just comment any further on this before we move on. Pallavi, unmute yourself, please.
I'm just coming back from the airport, so it's going to be
We
bad
don't want to know. Just
reception.
get on to the show.
So Pavan Khera had But my point is precisely this, Advaita. If Pawan Khera has, why is there no one pays attention? All you need to is to reach out and placate. But this thing is that it doesn't matter under the table. And if she joins the BJP, then again they'll say, see, we stand vindicated. These people are doing it for this. That's the problem.
See, I think Pallavi's made a very important point. And I joke about Pallavi often enough, but I have a lot of respect and regard for her genuine journalism. I do actually have a lot of respect and regard. I think the point that Pallavi is making is it really doesn't matter who joins which party. What matters is the exodus from the Congress and the Congress's denial that it is an exodus mired in the dissatisfaction of its loyalists. Advaita, I'm a great believer that exit interviews are important not to determine the health of the candidate, but the health of your own organization. I don't see the Congress either interested or even bothered about all of this. What I see is the Congress in denial. I see a veneer of unbridled arrogance saying, "Theek hai, if you want to leave, go to hell. We never wanted you in the first place." They've done that to Milind, they've done that to Jyotiraditya Scindia. It doesn't augur well. The signal that you send out to your existing loyalists is, we really don't care. There's only one thing that matters, and that's family first. And here's the irony. Narendra Damodar Das Modi says India first. The Congress says family first. And then they wonder why they don't win an election in today's India. Then they wonder why they're seen as arrogant. Then they wonder why people vote for Narendra Modi. The reason is very simple. The levels of entitlement that the Gandhis were used to from 1947 almost till 2014, those entitlement levels have changed. That's altered. The India of today is a different India. The Indian of today is different. And for that, I will credit Narendra Modi. I will credit before that Manmohan Singh. I will credit every Indian. I will credit Indian parenting. And I will credit the Indian economic boom. The India of today is not an entitled India. It's an India that is driven on merit. It's an India that is fueled by unbridled desire to achieve. It's an India that respects achievement. It's an India that respects the Made in India's credo. It's an India that respects an average Indian who is out to strike out for him or herself. That's the India we live in. That's the India that the Congress needs to understand. It is not an India where they can throw their weight or their power or their patronage. It is not an India that is being built on patronage anymore. You may totally disagree with Narendra Modi, and you have every right to disagree with his politics, but you cannot disagree with the progress that India has made and India will continue to make, with or without Narendra Modi. See, you have to understand the nation today is a nation on a roll. It's a nation that is being fueled not by ambition, but by achievement. It's a nation that recognizes its potential in the comedy of nations. It's a nation that has a seat at the table of economic brotherhood. That's the nation we're building. That's the nation that every political party should respect. By constantly dividing, by constantly denigrating, by constantly questioning the progress through the prism of cynicism, through the prism of negativity, holds nothing. It is tragic beyond imagination.
Quickly add one point to it, Advaita. I've just come back from Amethi and Raebareli, as you all know. I saw on the eve of the Congress announcing its list a huge excitement in Amethi Congress because they were actually hoping that Rahul Gandhi will contest from there. Now, whatever reasons they may have not to contest, that doesn't matter, Rahul Gandhi. What I really was expecting, I know it's late, but I still think it's better late than never. Rahul Gandhi should have issued a statement or a tweet or a video message to the workers of the Amethi Congress saying that, I know this is my home. I know you're disappointed, but this is KL Sharma. He's on my behalf and I'll always be there and you're always in my thought. He hasn't done that. The morning the list was out, it was at 7:50. I was driving down to Raebareli. There were 4, 5 Congress workers who called me up from Amethi crying. and they were telling me, "Man, Didi, sab barbad ho gaya." And there was this guy, I think I told you people about, and he told me that three members of my family are in jail because we took on the BJP. And also the fact is that everyone has quit. All the big leaders have quit. I didn't. Ab main kya karunga? For their sake, Rahul Gandhi should have issued a statement, a video message. What has come out today is something which is very cute and all of Rahul Gandhi on a fun trip on why he's wearing a white t-shirt in Karnataka and all. There's no problem with that. You do it. But on a day like today, what was stopping him and his team from advising him to come up with one video message for the Amethi Congress workers that could have helped KL Sharma and, of course, the Congress and Rahul Gandhi's himself that, I care for you. The lack of concern, 7:50 in the morning, you release a list, just shows that you don't care about them. This is the problem in the Congress. And if I say this, they think, okay, look, she's talking the language of the BJP, but this it is true about every political party, isn't it? In every organization, you just have to make the workers feel that listen, you matter to me. बीच बीच में Modi talks to the कार्यकर्तास ना, यहाँ नहीं, no one talks.
And that's an issue, you're right, but my whole thing is also, it's kind of like an opportune time for people who want to leave the Congress to have some moral ground for doing so. So let's also not be completely naive about why these sudden complaints are emerging and getting traction. Not saying that's what's happened in this case, but if we take like a chopper or helicopter view of these exits, a lot of times it's people suddenly drumming up like, ire and hurt from the past, and using that to quit the Congress party. Sohail?
And frankly speaking, very quickly, I'm sorry, Radhika's comment on Ayodhya doesn't make sense to me that much. Her comment on leaving because of that complaint against some man misbehaving with her makes sense to me. This Ayodhya and all seem to be an afterthought in her case.
Sohail, yeah.
On what?
Oh, I thought you wanted to come in
No.
on just these exits from the Congress. And the other thing, Sohail, that's happened is a Congress leader from Maharashtra has now raked up 2611 again and said that Hemant Karkare was not killed by Kasab, but was by an RSS linked cop or something to that nature. Something basically just muddying the waters again, and that whole issue
You know,
again playing to a certain voting bank, which would want to demonize the RSS and kind of find victimhood even in this situation.
I wouldn't even bother. You have many barking dogs. The caravan doesn't stop to talk to each one of them. We all know Hemant Karkare's contribution. We know what he has sacrificed, the martyrdom he has been through. I wouldn't bother. These guys are saying it in order to be in the news and to be discussed. So just ignore it. We don't need to give every barking dog credence, saying that, oh, this is what's happened. You cannot counter lies with facts every time, because facts will outlive lies. As simple as that.
But they're also saying it because Ujjwal Nikam is contesting, na? Because Ujjwal Nikam is contesting.
But it doesn't really help their case, Pallavi. Every time, these are things that they may be motivated
Not
by
at all.
local consideration to say this, but it explodes on the national scene, and then it impacts them negatively in other parts of the country where
But they
these
don't
things
care. They
matter
don't
Yeah.
much
care.
more.
They don't care.
No, but Pulwama was a reason for them to lose in 2019. One of the reasons. Again, patriotism, national interest. I mean, come on, there cannot be any sympathy for Kasam. I mean, it's been proved. He's been hanged. All of that. I don't know what happened. Then he's trying to explain. He retracted his statement, saying, "No, that's not what I meant." You can attack Ujjwal Nikam because politically. I mean, after all, he's your opponent. But to rubbish the whole Kasab factor. Now look. Now, then what is happening? Pakistan ka leader is praising Rahul Gandhi. Then you are giving a clean sheet to Pakistan virtually by not defending defending Kasab in an oblique way by saying the RSS is, and then you feel bad if you are called poor Pakistan. So you are just giving it on a platter, na? Politics, mein you also have to be very astute and smart. There are things which can be said in a smarter way, and on this, to
Yeah.
frankly speaking, bol hi nahi sakte.
But there is a trend also, right? Like you rightly pointed out, Pulwama again, when you know that there is a Pakistan angle involved, again you're kind of muddying the waters. Then with this other issue, with this other case, now with 2611, where you know there is a Pakistan involved angle involved, again you're trying to muddy the waters. So I mean, this is political harakiri as well as very dishonest politics to be doing this.
Well, are they in the same car or different cars?
I think different cars, and Sandeep was not going to join, so I don't know what changed his heart. But good to have you here, Sandeep. Where he's gone. He's gone. Sandeep, good to have
I'm
you
there.
here. Please.
I'm there. I just came to make an appearance because there's very strong popular demand. People were saying, "Why aren't you there?" All kind of speculation. So I said, "I'll just
Of
record my
course.
presence."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go
I mean,
ahead.
I've noticed the Sunday clubbers all have massive egos except for me. But go ahead, Sandeep.
No,
We're,
no, no. I
we're
just
talking.
thought I would. I have to go somewhere I'm on my way to some place, but I said I'll still kind of make this cameo appearance. Go ahead. I don't even know the topic you're discussing. Go ahead, please.
Okay, okay, thank you uh, for coming in at this point. But yes, we were just putting together this the various statements that the Congress seems to be making about important issues where there is a Pakistani hand involved, like Pulwama, our 2611, and kind of muddying the waters and trying to seed doubt into who the actual perpetrators could be. And the actual perpetrators are obviously someone from the RSS or the BJP, which I think is dangerous politics. It's vote bank politics, and it's completely unnecessary. But moving on from this, the other thing that has been interesting in the conversations this past week is that there is a very good likelihood that Raebareli may not be as safe a seat for Rahul Gandhi as is being projected, and there is some avid calculations that has taken place. Also, there have been some significant departures from some of the Raebareli constituencies, assembly seats, to the BJP, which weakens the Congress hold on that seat. Uh, Suhail, are we being too quick to say that this is a safe seat for Rahul Gandhi when it comes to Raebareli? And I'll give you the figures. Let me just get the figures for you. Suhail?
I don't think in today's India any seat is a safe seat. For those who believe that, 400 par must also contemplate where those 400 are going to come from. I don't think it's going to be such an easy election. I've been saying this over and over again. I'm not the expert on elections or a psephologist, and to be honest, I have no idea. All I can say is that you don't a leader of his stature or a leader of his standing, whatever standing it may be in other people's minds, and I still feel Rahul Gandhi is the only other pan national leader. I think there should have been more contemplation as to how to handle standing from these two seats, and that's what I think.
Yeah. Sandeep, over to you.
Yeah, personally, I think it may be too early for us to write off liability. They have gone in at the end of the day because they do believe there is a family equity, and people do tend to think in that manner. So there is definitely a positive legacy, not because of done work, but the whole emotional connect or whatever. So she does have a head start there. Now, how the people who have quit, it's like anything politics also is like working in a corporate. You're working in a big corporation, you have a certain clout, you tomorrow quit and go and join another company or a competitor of yours, you're not really treated in the same way.
A little
So
louder,
that would
Sandeep.
yeah, I'm saying so. It's yeah. I don't think just simply some people deserting, unless they were real heavyweights, is going to be so damaging. And rapidly, Congress may still be able to pull it off. What is going to happen in Amethi with this new person? I can't say. I would think that Smriti Irani should have an advantage there because of all the work she has done in the last 5 years. And this gentleman, in any case, he was a retainer, like a sort of a housekeeper for Raebareli. He didn't quite work in Amethi. So unless there is a negative sentiment against Smriti, which I don't think there is, this gentleman should find it much more difficult. But Congress is going to throw in its entire lot over there. Priyanka Gandhi is going to spend disproportionate amount of time, so Rahul Gandhi may be safe. Today I read a very funny article, but I trust him because he's a very, very senior journalist who was very close to Congress once upon a time in Sunday Garden. He said that Congress has spent so much on the chartering aircraft for the family members, they really don't have money to pay some of the candidates. And that's why this Puri candidate had to genuinely call out because she didn't have cash, because she was asked to fund her own campaign entirely. The point being, again, all the money that is there is going to get poured into Raebareli, and Raebareli they may still pull off. AIM is saying the link is dead. I don't think so. You should just redial it.
You're on mute.
I said AIM is saying that he can't dial in. He says a time up. I think he's dialing in some wrong on some long link. He's trying to get on, but he's unable to.
No, no, he does this every time. There's nothing wrong with the link at all. It's working perfectly fine. I've sent it again to him, and that's just AIM being AIM. Pallavi, the quick thing we were learning is that there's a lot of arguments that are coming forward that Raebareli is not a done deal. I mean, it's not something that the Congress should assume that it's a safe seat, or that the BJP should feel like it's a handover, because
Well, Dinesh
Manoj
Singh gave a
Pandey,
run for the money to
one
Sonia
second,
Gandhi.
Manoj Pandey, Aditi Singh have both quit, who hold significant influence over certain constituencies in that
As well as
parliamentary seat.
Dinesh Singh. Dinesh Singh, he was responsible for cutting down a lot of votes of Sonia Gandhi last time around when she won. Her margin did come down sharply. So he's not going to make it easy. This time around, maybe Rahul Gandhi wins, maybe. But next time around, if I was him, I would be alert, because that's exactly what happened in Amethi. If the Congress was not wanting to take any chance, if the Congress was not a little apprehensive, tomorrow onwards, most probably, Priyanka Gandhi is going to be parked mostly in Raebareli. She's going to be campaigning there. So that shows that the Congress also knows that this is not a time for us to take any chance, and therefore campaign for Rahul Gandhi.
Sohail, there's a new name for you on the chat. They call you now Snow White.
What
Good.
did they call him? The Pagla Behosh?
They used to call him Bhupa Ji, but now they're calling him Snow White.
I don't give a
Welcome.
fuck.
Abhijit,
Pagal
Please,
ka
language.
behosh. Any resemblance to anybody living or real is entirely coincidental.
Advaita, why don't you conduct the show?
Yeah,
Because I'm waiting for Abhijit to stop speaking here, because he's had a very
I
active
finished speaking just in case you didn't
lunch,
listen. Sudail could
and
listen to it, but
he
clearly you couldn't.
basically slept the entire afternoon, woken up now to
This
arrive
is
for
the
the show
problem when you
that
steal
is
script.
because he had a
7:45
heavy
p.m.
lunch,
Okay, I'll take
and
off.
the others did not
Just
have lunch because he was dancing so obnoxiously. They didn't want to eat, so they went away.
Oh God, that's embarrassing.
Who went away?
Okay, AIM, very quickly, I want to ask you a question. Sadiq Khan has won London mayoral elections. I know you'll be interested in this. So quickly give us your views.
I've tweeted out my view, darling. You see, Sadiq Khan is that kind of, they fill a certain spot. They give the liberals the policy that they want. There's two kinds of self defeating voters. One is the high income, high education one, the other is the low income, low education one. The high income, high education one, unfortunately, haven't been taught economics or how to maintain law and order and stuff. They live in a fantasy world. They extrapolate the reality of whatever, South Kensington or whatever onto the rest of London. And they think everything's just going to be fine. It isn't. And when they fail, the problem is they don't want to bite the bullet and accept they were wrong. So Sadiq Khan has presided over high crime, high everything in most parts of London. Sure, if you live near Grosvenor Park, you're not going to feel it, but in other parts you are. Okay. Then what's happened is you've got the low income, low educated voter, of which London has many, uh, who will, they're addicted to freebies or whatever they've got at the moment. And so they're not going to challenge this guy. This is what you see. You see these patterns repeat all over. You see it with Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. You see this with, the Castros in Cuba. Of course, the Cubans don't have a choice, but it's a repeat pattern throughout. So why is this surprising? You're on mute. You're on mute.
I mean,
Sharing a
she
screen here
really.
that you all can see here. This is a lady called Joanna Slutsky. That's her, literally her name, and she is the student leader, I guess, from the entire Columbia gang. And I just want you to, she is asking for humanitarian aid for the students in Colombia who are protesting, and that they need food and things of that nature. I want you, Abhijit, to check out the guy standing behind her. He's, of course, one of her cohorts in this whole protest. And the interesting thing about the guy that's joining her is that it's very likely that, should they end up in Gaza, he's going to be probably flung off a roof.
Yes, what do you want me to do about it?
No, but I mean, what does where is this disconnect?
This
How, when
disconnect
you are,
is exactly what I told you about. See, it's something called, I want our viewers to Google this. It's called the Dunning-Kruger syndrome. The more educated you are, the stupider you get, but the smarter you think you are. And that's what's happening in Colombia. This is literally chickens for KFC.
yeah,
That's literally
yeah.
what it is. But why is this surprising? We actually see this everywhere, where, initially this plague was something that affected the humanities only. Now, because the sciences didn't realize how bad things were, they bought in lock, stock, barrel. The sciences have actually become worse than the humanities in this.
Sohail, you're in New York. Are you seeing any signs of these protests anywhere? Are you seeing any signs of like pro Hamas protests and things like that in the city?
No, no, because I'm not going to Colombia or any of those places, so I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah, yeah. He's
But
not seeing anything.
there is obviously a lot of concern amongst parents, because a lot of these parents have spent a lot of money uh, in these for these students of colleges, and they're obviously concerned both about the education there and about the safety of children who are not part of either side or protests or whatever.
Yeah, and this is a 90,000 US dollars a year university. It's not cheap to go
But
to Columbia.
but the newspapers are, especially these so-called woke newspapers, are obviously, you know, criticizing those who are against the pro-Palestinian protests, and there are also an equal number of critics who are against the pro-Israel protests. So it's I mean, it is what it is.
And the thing is, Abhijit, I can't help but see the similarity between these protests and what we saw a couple of years ago in JNU. Similar narrative, similar sort of stance, similar kind of demands, and this is obviously the leftist ecosystem, which just goes to show you how effective it is in our academic institutions. I want to also say, free democracies. You won't see these protests in countries that don't have free democracies.
Of course. And they will claim that they want those democracies to be democratic in every sense, where certain policies are not democratically implemented or democratically discussed. And that shows you the extent of their stupidity. You see, because policies, we are not democracies, we are republics. We became republics precisely because of what happened to Socrates, because not everything can be democratically decided. Athens democratically decided to give Socrates hemlock. Democracy in everything is called mobocracy. That does not work. That is why we became republic, so that you believe in the wisdom of the crowd, where they elect certain people over and over again in order to moderate things, and all policy then becomes interlinked. Some of it you won't understand. You may think it's against you, but it's not. But you did see this in JNU, and remember, the same people calling for crushing all of this nonsense were all supporting the JNU types. That stupid albino lady, who is she? The scary albino toilet paper user, Guardian
And
lady. No, no,
I don't know, the Guardian,
Hannah Jealous Madsen,
Hannah
or whatever.
Ellis Peterson, yeah,
Okay,
the
so Hannah
journalist.
Ellis,
Yeah.
yes, Hannah Ellis Rabbitson. Uh, you contrast her approach to both of these things. Okay, and mind you, what did you see those things that the Columbia University, the 9 points that Columbia's president has agreed to? He didn't agree to point 1 and 2, which was to disinvest in the Columbia Center, the collaboration with Tel Aviv University. But look at point number 8. They wanted flags of all oppressed people, including Kashmir, quote unquote, to be freely displayed across campus. This is a money extortion scheme. You read what all they've asked for. They've asked for administrative layers where, it's the same Black Lives Matter grifters who have come back, DEI, Black Lives Matter grifters who have come back in a different form as administrators of, sensitization to Palestinian oppression, who will come, they will be given high paid Columbia jobs, and they will sensitize everybody to Palestinian oppression. That's all it is.
And the president has agreed to this. Is that what you're saying? They've agreed to these
Yes,
flags
they've
being
agreed to
displayed and
everything
all that?
except point one, which is the disinvestment, the breaking off of contact with Tel Aviv University.
That's because that's where the money comes from. The president is a
Exactly.
lady called Shafiq, if I'm not mistaken. It's a lady, not a man. So, I mean, this is just the way it is, and I mean, the Islamist leftist nexus that one speaks of is very much at play here. And I
And,
find history very interesting. Abhijit, very quickly,
and I
in
wanted to
Iran.
point out,
No, wait.
one
Let me
second,
let me
Asmita.
finish. I'm just making a fuller point. The Islamist leftist nexus, the historical parallel that you can draw of this nexus is with Iran pre-Islamic revolution, where the leftists were with Khomeini and gang. And as soon as Khomeini and gang came into power, guess what happened to the communists?
Well, this is a point I always make. They've always been together, but the first people the communists go after is Islamists, and the first people Islamists go after are communists
Communist.
every time they're in power. Every time, without fail.
Yeah. So the disruption is something that they can work well together on, and then the moment they get to power, then it's taking each other out because they know exactly what each other stands for. So
Exactly.
then there's some sense in that. But anyway, it's been a very interesting conversation. I'm so glad that we touched on international topics this time around as well. So he'll say thank you so much for joining us this evening, Abhijit, Pallavi, and Sandeep, for his little guest appearance in a floral Hawaiian shirt. Didn't But for the rest of us, it's really good to be doing this again. And that's about it, guys. There's all the interesting comment from NIU. Convince them to protest is pro Hamas, and brainwashing is to a level where professors have convinced Jewish students to protest. And the sad thing is, Jewish students have been told by the local rabbi that don't go to Columbia, don't go out there because refrain from going to class because it cannot be safe for you. And to think that the Jews are going through something like this yet again is absolutely heartbreaking and shocking. But anyway, we'll be back with another topic soon. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and see you soon.